Good evening, everyone. Live from Silicon Valley, California. This is Bhakti Community. My name is JM, and I welcome you all to a program today, Bhakti On, where we'll discuss the topic Information is Noise and Wisdom is Quiet. With the speaker today, Shivas Pandit. As you know, Shivas Pandit is a regular speaker. He has been practicing Bhakti Yoga for over 3 decades, and he teaches systematic classes on Vedic wisdom and mentors several youth and couples who look forward to his association. So, really glad and happy to have Shivas Pandit back. Welcome back, Shivas Pandit.
Jen, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Premanishta, Chris, Mary Kay, Priya. I'm so happy to be back amongst all of you this evening. And it's my distinct pleasure and honor. But before we start, I would like to offer what is called Mangalacharan, prayers for purification. And we can get started. The topic, Jen, is very profound and I might add timely, but I just want to add the twist. It's timeless as well. So we'll get to that a little bit. Before I start, ciao, welcome. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhayascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Dinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatani. With that, I welcome Priya, Sham Sundari, Jagriti, Ridhima. Thank you for joining. Lavanya, Hare Krishna. Leisure, Haribol. Very nice to meet you. Thank you. Today's topic, as I mentioned, was really timely. It is information is loud and wisdom is quiet, or information is everywhere and still it is not leading to wisdom. And it's amazing that the explosion of knowledge that internet has got about is unprecedented. In last 30 years, the explosion of information probably is more profound than all the libraries that preceded the explosion of information. I think you'll agree with that. All the libraries at all over the world, all of them are brought at one place where you can just go ahead and access anything you want. And in fact, libraries were dull in one sense because you actually had to go open the book. I remember because if you had to search a topic, you imagine the days before internet, you just had to open the book. You had to go to the index topic in the back, and you have to search the topic, go to the alphabetical order and see a particular topic. You have to go and do that. And the Google previously was Encyclopedia Britannica. Kids, you might not even know that. And and the amount of information you get is incredible. And then the other thing was you index it, you go and you have to read that few lines, whatever was being mentioned. But now you don't have to do that. You just have a 2 minute animated an animation explaining everything in like 2 minutes. And the information dump on the brain is so much and so intense that at times it seems it's too overwhelming, and the mind is not able to capture it, and that leaves the mind rather confused, rather shorn of critical thinking, and your own viewpoint gets lost in so much of uh, uh, information. I'll give a simple example. If Lavanya wants to buy something off of Amazon, then what she's going to do is she's going to actually go look at the product, and then she's going to read all the reviews possibly as much as possible. And even those reviews are tough, so they have a AI version of that review where they just give a bullet point. Now you can see how the mind, its own critical thinking is kind of stymied a little bit. That is a point, one point. And the other thing is, even if you get the information, you are at lost on the decision, because information, vast information, doesn't lead to right decision. If anything, it will lead to paralysis by analysis. But yeah, so, and this was the story of Arjuna. Let's take few examples from the scriptures. For those who are not familiar, Arjuna was about to fight this huge battle with his own cousins or cousins' family for getting the kingdom back. And the armies were assembled, 3.9 million soldiers of both the parties. The chariots, the elephants, and the horses, and everything was assembled, and the war was about to begin. And Arjuna, he had this task of fighting his own family members. Particularly, few of the family members deeply touched his heart. His grandfather was Bhishma. Now, Arjuna became fatherless when his father passed away at a very young age, and his mother, Queen Kunti, actually gathered all the five boys and brought them back to Hastinapur from the forest they were living. And his grandfather Bhishma was became the father figure for Arjuna. In fact, it is mentioned whoever has a child knows the fact that when the child is small, there could be a possibility of a child, you know, we have to do a lot of service for the child. I'll not go into more details, but you have to, the child may actually sometimes vomit on you, and the child might have to, other things happen, other accidents happen. And when Arjuna was sitting on the lap of Bhishma, all these accidents happened, quote unquote accidents. And he was exactly like the father figure. Now, um, in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he saw that same father figure, Bhishma, being on the opposite side. And the internal guts and became wrenching for Arjuna. He was like, oh, I don't want to do this uh, most unpleasant task of fighting and killing my own grandfather Bhishma, who was so loving and caring. So he mentions a lot of things to Krishna. He in those times, the warriors were not just expert in wielding weapons, but they were expert in scriptures. And Arjuna quotes so many reasons on why he shouldn't fight the battle. He gives the um, he gives the social reason, he gives the scriptural reasons, he gives the religious reasons, both from sin and piety perspective. He mentions that if if I be the destruction of these families, because men in those days would fight and the ladies were at home with young children, have doing or participating in this battle means that all those mm, wives would be widows and the children would be fatherless because of this battle, and millions of them. So Arjuna was wary of this situation, and he said that whoever causes the destruction of family, they will go to hell. Akanksha, welcome. Thank you for joining. Ayush, Hare Krishna. We'll properly welcome you
Hare
when we get
Krishna.
into it. Hare
Yeah.
Krishna, Ayush. And he quoted so many scriptural reasons on why he shouldn't fight. His knowledge was profound and his information was a lot. But the problem was that when you have so much of information, Arjuna was confused. He was, I don't know what to do. And he said to Krishna in the second chapter, "Oh Krishna, all this knowledge, all the uh, factors that go into the decision making, they have left me confused. They have left me with a weak heart. Now I am a student. I surrender unto you. Please instruct me." And that's how Gita came about. Um, Lotfi, thank you for joining. JM, all yours in case there are some housekeeping rules or welcoming of guests and so on and so forth.
Yeah, thanks. I'm just reviewing. Looks like most of them are regular attendees, but in case you have joined here for the first time or have you come back after a long time, please feel free to say hi. Would love to hear your voice.
Hi, this is Priyanka. This is my first time.
Welcome, Priyanka. Glad to have you. Thank you for joining.
Of course, I met Priyanka, and thank you, Priyanka. It was such a pleasant, most pleasant surprise to see you.
Thank
Um,
you.
Yasmin, welcome back. It's so good to see you. Thank you. All right.
I think rest are regular attendees.
All right. Yeah, it's the best of all, the regular attendees.
Oh, Hare Krishna Prabhu, I have a quick question.
Yes, please,
Is
Akansha.
no, I just want to make sure, like, if you're sharing a slide or something, or no?
No, no.
Okay, 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 okay.
But when we have to share, which I'm going to share, if we share a verse or something like that, we'll be making sure that we'll share it
Oh, okay, okay.
and post it online as well in case.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So, all right. Any points on information explosion? Anybody had any specific point that you wanted to bring about with the amount of information that's going on? All right. The other thing with
Go ahead, Priya.
yes, Premanishta, please.
I'm going to say, Prabhu, so much information is coming to our brains these days as compared to earlier. And our ability to retain this information is going down and down. I only have know my husband's phone number and my phone number because I have to put it in so many documents. I don't remember my kids' phone numbers, but my dad just came here 2 years back and he has memorized all of our phone numbers at the age of 80 plus. And I'm like, okay, I think my brain's abilities have gone down really badly.
And good luck with the next generation. So thank you, Premanishta, for that.
Go ahead, Priya.
Prabhuji, one thing on internet, there are lots of babas, lots of meditation, lots of mind-related stuff. But sometimes we don't know which information is correct, lack of awareness, and how to channelize that information. That is the biggest concern for me, actually. And nowadays, I think so. I stopped doing my Vipassana meditation, doing 16 route. I see a difference inside me, But sometimes we don't know what is scientific reason, because just we get lots of information. Sometimes we get lots of ISKCON videos also and lots of information, but we don't know how to scientifically apply use case by use case. Means, for example, I'm going through anxiety. If I want to work on the consistency, which particular application I have to apply in my life, and how to I can come out that thing. That is the biggest challenge I'm facing with the help of lots of videos, actually, lots of shorts, also YouTube shorts, TikTok, lots of information. But sometimes we don't know how to use in our life actually. Just we can listening one ear and just that not going inside, just where garbage come in, garbage come out. That is the going through current situation. Means everyone, not me. But I think so you guys are more aware, you guys are more enlightened. I think so we are so early, but I think so if you help us that area, that will be really helpful.
Priya, that's a fantastic question, and I do agree that, and we'll touch upon this as well as we go ahead with our presentation today evening. The problem is that knowledge previously came about in a very systematic fashion. The scriptures were the origin point for all knowledge. And when that knowledge became diluted into many different branches, then that knowledge overtook what is called the age old wisdom of scriptures. And the problem today is that knowledge is commoditized or monetized. Unfortunately, it has come to that particular point, and that is the greatest tragedy with the explosion of knowledge. If you open a media, for example, they tend to be biased and they tend to present a particular point of view. If they are not presenting a particular point of view, then institutions like universities, they are charging arm and leg to give you some knowledge. So more than the explosion of knowledge, it is that that knowledge has become decided by people who are sitting atop this knowledge or disseminating this knowledge. That's the most dangerous thing of this age. And that has left a lot of people equally biased with that information. When I take biased information, I tend to be biased to a particular thing because I have kind of faith. So, which will come up to another point of that aspect. So, if you see knowledge, knowledge is something that I get based on my faith. So, if I have a faith, then I particularly go towards that side of knowledge. And how the faith is developed, we'll come to that point. The first point is, without faith, you cannot get knowledge. Let me start with that. No matter how much of rational thinking you are, you might say, I don't believe in God, I don't believe in scriptures. I'm completely a man of rational or a woman of rational outlook that only accepts scientific things as they are. So who can I ask? Let me ask. Yeah, Yasmin, why not? Yasmin, so do you know what is the fundamental particle of the matter? Like, what is the matter made of?
I would say atoms.
Thank you, ma'am. Perfect. And 100 points. And if you break open an atom, what do you get? Maybe Lisha or Priya can tell.
Electron, proton.
Perfect.
Neutron,
Thank you,
all
Priya.
these are the items.
Thank you, Priya. Agreed. But I have a question. Do you actually see them? So basically, I didn't see it. Then the question remains is, well, where did you hear that from? Well, I heard it from school. Okay, that's great. Did your teacher actually see the atoms? Probably not. She's a middle school teacher. I don't think she has any connections with CERN or other laboratories in Switzerland that she can go and see a large collider and see the particles and so on and so forth. Then the question, then the answer is that I have faith in my teacher that what they are saying is correct. and I accept you. Correct? So far, so good. Because if a third grade student goes to the class and then says to the teacher, and the teacher says something, and the third grade student says to the teacher, "Prove me that," or "Prove, I don't believe you. Just you have to prove me first before I accept knowledge." Well, that can be a problem. Yes or yes? I mean, you just have to accept at that point of time. You just have to accept knowledge, and God forbid, I pray that JM has a happy and healthy life. But assume that JM has to go to doctor for a certain condition, and the doctor says that this is the prescription, or this is the course of treatment that you have to take. And JM challenges the doctor and says, "Prove me first that this will work, then I'll take it." Can be problematic. The doctor will say, "Jim, I think yes, I need to prescribe some treatment for you, but it will be more of psychiatric treatment." That's a joke. That's a joke. Jim is my friend, so I can make jokes of this. But because you have to accept on faith. So the idea is that knowledge is accepted by faith, and that's how we acquire knowledge. Each of us, Leach's husband, Professor Easley, is a professor at Stanford. And then in the next life, he won't be born into Stanford as a professor. He has to start all over again from ABCD. It doesn't matter. I may have 4 Nobel Prizes and 3 PhDs, but next life, when I'm born, it's going to be the beautiful song that every child sings. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? Sorry. And that's how life is, because each of us are born in ignorance, and we need to start all over again to learn this particular knowledge. So how do we acquire knowledge? I think we have covered enough of that, and we all kind of agree on that. The next question is, what sort of knowledge actually we need to take in, and how we need to take in that knowledge to have that critical thinking and awareness. One of the earlier things I said was that knowledge was being monetized, commoditized, and increasingly marginalized, so to speak, just keeping it in one way. Then how do we know what do we know? It's a very important question to ask. Like, how do I know what I know? I learned something, but is it true or is it not true? And if you ask that question, we can see that it's a hard question to answer. I'll tell one more example. For example, Mary Kay, why not? So she has she needs to check her weight, and she has a weighing scale. She has to take at the face value that the weighing scale works correctly, or maybe if it is really off, Mary Kay, I'm just making up. Don't get offended. But if the weighing scale shows her weight as 400 pounds, then she'll say, "Yeah, this is wrong. This is not me." And then she'll probably get another weight of 30 pounds, like a dumbbell or something like that. She puts on the scale and she says, "Yeah, this doesn't work." But by and large, she accepts what the weighing scale shows, correct? So in the same way, the knowledge that I receive has to have certain relevance to my world. Often what happens is I can make a conscious choice, and this ties into Priya's question. I can make a conscious choice on what I'm being exposed to, because knowledge will influence me. Knowledge will affect me. There's no doubt about it. So, so to what extent I can expose myself to that knowledge, to that extent I can keep my sanity. The reason is knowledge of this world is causing me concern without my influence in it. I please show of hand how many wanted to see a steep increase in the gas prices. I don't think anybody wanted to. It's a matter of concern, but I can't do much about it. So knowledge can lead into the area of concern versus area of influence. Influence is something that I can actually do something about it, and something that I cannot do about it. So if you have that differentiation, then I will say, okay, I can watch TikTok to see a whole lot of things, like how I can watch TikTok and I can, or YouTube. Hey, there were a bunch of beavers that actually were helped rivers in Scotland become neat again, clean again. It's an article, you can look it up, that 500 years ago, there were a lot of beavers in Scotland, and they used to build dams across the rivers so that the rivers would stop the soil erosion and make sure that the natural fauna was retained. But when the beavers were killed, or when they were completely hunted for their whatever, then the rivers lost. So the point is, there are many things like that I can see from this world, but it really doesn't affect my day-to-day existence. My material or spiritual practices, how does it affect me? When you ask your mind this question, that why? What do I get from this? In fact, one way to see it is, this is interesting. Growing up, I read Sherlock Holmes, and show of hands, anybody who's not familiar with Sherlock Holmes. All right. Sherlock Holmes was, Dr. Watson is like, he tried to tell Akanksha, thank you. Yeah. So he tries to find out about his roommate, because he was very quiet, laconic, and not speaking much. So he tries to say, which branches of knowledge does Sherlock knows? And then he writes that crying is like extremely high knowledge, and labs and chemical processes extremely high. Astronomy is zero. And then once Dr. Watson talks to Sherlock Holmes, and he says, this devil, I don't remember, because it was a long time ago I read that book, when I was maybe 30, 40 years old. He says that, astronomy has this development. And then Sherlock Holmes says, okay, thanks for telling me, I'll try to forget it. And then Dr. Watson's shocked. He says, this is the latest development in astronomy. You should know this. Any sane, educated man should know this. And Sherlock Holmes says, like, why do I care with that particular information? It doesn't help me at all. My brain is like an attic, and I cannot dump it with any information. And now that's a nice analogy, because if my house is reasonably small, then I won't get every single thing I can find and keep it. And one room is exclusively for garbage. I mean, I'll never recycle my garbage. I'll just keep piling at my house. And that exactly is what's happening with the information these days. So I did speak for a while. I would like to open up for questions, for comments, for experiences, for thoughts, for scathing criticism. Sure, go for it. You can get physical, because you're going to break your screen. I'm happily situated in my home. Heidi, SJ's phone.
Go ahead.
SJ, thank you for joining.
Prabhuja, I have a question. You spoke about faith. How to increase faith actually? What's the process increasing the faith?
Thank you. Excellent question, Martha. Excellent question, Priya. Any other thoughts? Any other
I guess I had one that was kind of related, is who do we trust with providing us with the right knowledge and the right faith? And then is it also wrong to get our knowledge from only one source, or does it depend on the source?
excellent questions. Thank you, Ayush and Priya, for yes.
Yes, and also I have one. How could we, in these days, actually, I think we are addictive to learn knowledge because we have a lot. How could we get out of that? Because every day we learn, and we think it's very important the way they show it to us. How could we not step into the learning a lot of things, and it's scatters, because actually make our mind very wandering all the time.
Excellent. Beautiful question, though.
And there is one more follow-up question. For example, we grow up to some certain religion or something, and from childhood we have one pattern actually how to break that pattern. For example, you are believing something, and now you are coming to you like this information and you feel, oh, this information is valid. I get all the validation. And after how to break that previous pattern and come into the new pattern, because breaking old pattern is take a time, and starting from new means you starting from zero. Then that moment you feel you're just new. You don't have anything. You feel like you were just new, and you just like you like helpless. You need some help. That situation. How to come out that situation also when you're believing on something new, and how to start believing on the new thing, and how to ask for help.
Excellent. Thank you. So Ayush's question was about the trust and the source of the information, and then Priya's question is like, how do you, if I paraphrase her question, how do you unlearn before you can learn new things? And then Lotfi's question was, with this explosion of information, how can you actually contain, or how can you narrow it down? And these are all excellent questions. Any intellectual person will have these questions. You'll be surprised to know that this is not a problem that is relevant to this time. Yes, it is, because of the Lavanya, please, before I continue. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
My question is, if your faith get challenged at some point because of certain difficult circumstances, how do you handle that?
Thank you.
And Prabhuji, one more question: how to increase the faith also? That is also a follow-up question you missed.
Yes.
So you have to give the answer.
Yes. Thank you. So I will speak for 10-15 minutes, and then we'll come to that. The question about information explosion is very relevant in the modern time because of the obvious things that we discussed about. This was not a problem for the modern time. This is a problem that struck the sages who were in Naimisharanya 5,000 years ago. And JM, if you would be so kind enough to bring Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:11, first canto, first chapter, all ones, 1.1.11. Before, as JM pulls up, this treatise, that is Bhagavatam, was written for some particular purpose, or one of the questions in response to one request, one concern, one burning question. So somebody can read just the translation, please.
Please, maybe raise your hand or unmute, and you can start reading.
I can read.
Go ahead, Lavanya.
Yeah, there are many varieties of scriptures, and in all of them, there are many prescribed duties which can be learned only after many years of study in their various divisions. Therefore, O sage, please select the essence of all these scriptures and explain it for good of all living beings, that by such instruction their hearts may be fully satisfied.
So, in the canon of Vedic literature, there are many books. The Vedas in themselves are voluminous, are extensive. They span. There are 4 Vedas, which is Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva, and they have the sub branches. They have the limbs of Vedas. Then there is Upanishads. There is Puranas. The sages assembled 5,000 years ago in a place called Naimisharanya. They also experienced information overload like we are experiencing today. They said there are too many books. There are too many prescriptions in each book. And so please, we are getting an overload of information. Give us the essence. We just want the essence. This is the beauty of their request, though. They said 2 things about the request. They said, which is the highest beneficial activity for human being, most important thing is by which the soul or the heart can be completely satisfied. This is the positive side of knowledge, that the knowledge that I acquire should be completely satisfying my soul, or my self-satisfaction. So contrasting with the modern knowledge, the more information we have, the more anxiety we are exposed to. Our information seeking should lead to the path of utter internal peace and satisfaction. So that is the first criteria of that. Now, with that criteria, we'll answer the questions that we are getting. The Bhagavad Gita, we learn that we as human beings or any living entities are composed of two aspects. One is the material aspect and one is the spiritual aspect. The spiritual being that pervades this body is eternal, whereas the material aspect is temporary. So when we are born in this world, we need two types of knowledge. One is the knowledge of matter, the other is the knowledge of spirit. Knowledge of matter is used or needed for maintaining our body. But since the body itself is temporary, there is a need for spiritual knowledge as well, something that gives me deep satisfaction. And more than not, something about God, even if you see it on YouTube or TikTok, something that is profoundly spiritual and moving can deeply touch you, even in this age of not everything touches you. You just can mindlessly scroll through hours of TikTok, but then something very spiritual can touch you. Otherwise, the material things, if everything is material or spiritual, then everything should be touching you, but not much touches you. Yes or yes. So the way where we can place our faith and trust is that Krishna spoke this knowledge to Arjuna, and that knowledge has been absorbed by many spiritual seekers and seekers of truth since many, many years, many, many decades and millennia. So that knowledge that is coming from Krishna that he gives us, that knowledge is perfect and pure because he has no motive. Bhagavad Gita, we are not, I promise you one thing, that Krishna is not getting any royalties as of today for last 5,000 years that he spoke Gita. Even though hundreds and millions of copies have been sold, he has no royalties getting out of it because he spoke this knowledge for us. So that knowledge that is coming in that particular disciplic succession, and Krishna mentions this in the Gita, he says to Arjuna that Arjuna, this knowledge that I spoke previously to Sun God has been covered, has been disbanded and dissipated over a period of time due to influence of time. I have come back to reestablish this particular knowledge. So knowledge is something that has to be coming in from a higher authority. That is the knowledge. And how do we know that knowledge will work? That has to come from the disciplic succession, from the Lord to his representative and his representative, and so on and so forth. And that's how it works. Earlier, I mentioned the issue about atom, like who has seen the atom? And the answer is somebody actually seen atom, they wrote it down, and people read it, and they have been telling the students for last 130 years the same thing. So spiritual revelation also means that people who have experienced God or God himself has given that knowledge. And using that knowledge, you can see how it will give you so much of meaning and happiness in life. So along with material knowledge that we need to acquire to maintain ourselves, the spiritual knowledge is absolutely needed. Otherwise, one will be drowned in material misinformation, if you will, and there is no happiness. And people have been seeing various news channels for decades now, and every time you open that channel, you are even more anxiety. So far, so good. More questions. I'll keep answering as we go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, that was good.
Thank you. One of the things is that Krishna says in the Gita that what you think of, that you will be in the next life. It's very interesting, where Krishna says, if you think of something, then you will be that in the next life. For example, if a person is thinking very strongly, a man and a woman, they are married for many, many years, and while the man is passing, he may be very, very deeply absorbed in his wife, and he may be thinking about the wife. And because the man's absorption is in his wife, the next life he can become a woman, and the person can. So the point is that if your mind is absorbed in certain thing, then Krishna says you will be that in the next life. Which means if you are absorbed in Krishna, then in the next life you will go back to Krishna. So to Lotfi's question is, what should I think about, or how much should I? What is the means is that I should funnel my thoughts for higher spiritual topics, because in the next life, then my life has a little more meaning and I can carry this knowledge. One of the things is, as I mentioned earlier, and before I continue, I would really like to welcome my dear friend Professor Easley and Chitra and others for this. And Chuck, I did talk about you before you joined, and how I said that you're a professor at Stanford, but your parents cannot. When you're born in the next life, you can't join the Stanford faculty at 3 months of age, because so but the spiritual knowledge that you take in this life, you'll carry to the next life. Automatically, that knowledge is something that you kind of carry to the next life. So the aspect is that our knowledge be a combination both of matter and spirit, eventually only spirit, but that will take a period of time. And which brings up to Priya's question, how to increase the faith, is that as one advances more in spiritual life, one sees the world or the matter less important, the spirit more important. And it happens gradually. And to the point that spiritual knowledge will fill you with such happiness that you will be like, this is nice, and the other things are not so nice. I'll give a simple example. Unfortunately, but realistically, there are many homeless people. And sometimes they have to do dumpster diving to kind of get their food. It's unfortunate, but it's a possibility that they may have to do the dumpster diving and see the leftover food and eat it, and so on and so forth. The person who's accustomed to like this, if that person is given warm meal, fresh home cooked meal for many days, will that person go back to dumpster diving or try to get? No. So similarly, this knowledge that is material is giving anxiety, but if it is transformed to spiritual, then material knowledge seems less and less inclined. Having said that, it becomes organically, and you should increase our faith in like that. Thank you. Questions? I'll stop here. I'll take more questions, more comments. Let's make it interactive.
There is one question from Akanksha. She's asking, my understanding is that the more information we have, the better decision we make. Can too much information actually distance us from truth and hamper our decision-making abilities?
So here is the question, though. How much information is needed to make a right decision? And will more information guarantee the right decision? I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm not saying that everybody should just blindly go without a plan, without studying, without having. No, you should. But the goal is that we have optimum information, and the outcome is only affected when you do an action, correct? Which means that I should do my work and I should depend on luck or universe or whatever for outcome. But in spiritual life, the outcome is certain because the path is given by God. So in material life, you should absolutely do your homework, do the best you can, and pull the trigger when the homework is done. But in spiritual life, the outcome is certain because it is Krishna who's promising you do this, you will come back to me. Is that helpful, Akanksha? And we can type it in the chat. One more question. I see that, Jane.
Yeah, Hades asking, what if you want to spend all your time learning spirituality and feeding the soul, but you still have to work and think about other material things to live?
So, who wrote that?
Heidi.
Heidi. Heidi, okay, excellent question. So Krishna says in the Gita that you can actually be spiritual and you can still work in the world. The example is given is that there is a lotus leaf that is in the water, is born off the water, but I don't know if you had the experience. You take the drop of water and put it on the lotus leaf, it slides right off as if that lotus leaf had a Teflon coating, just slides off. So the whole purpose is we live like lotus, which means that we belong to this world, but we are not of this world. Because it's possible, it is definitely possible to practice of yoga where the world is a place where I need to execute my duty, but not necessarily invest heavily in this world as this is my reality. Is that helpful?
I guess. Thank you. Yes. I think my follow-up is how to know what's enough, I guess. Yeah, how to find maybe balance between the two, but maybe that's just a personal question.
No. It's actually a universal question because so how do I find the balance between material and spiritual is Krishna says that what you need or what you can earn from an honest living that you can maintain a healthy lifestyle. That's about it. I'll give a simple example before we go. And because Leisha and Chuck are here, I can use them happily. So Leisha and Chuck, they go to Hawaii. They say enough of Bay Area, enough of this world. Let's go kind of take a break and let's go to Hawaii. And they go to Hawaii. It's a beautiful place. The resort is right on the beach, and they enter into their suite. And Chuck said, let's like splurge a little. It's really you can fill in whatever they need to fill in. And and they go in, and then Chuck says he says to Leisha, I'm actually going to the hardware store. And Leisha says, good idea. I'm going to the furniture store. And Chuck says, and somebody overhears that conversation. They say, guys, what's going on? Did you come to visit Hawaii or go to Home Depot and other furniture stores? No. Chuck says, I hate the paint in my room. I'm just going to go to Home Depot and I'm going to get a different color paint and paint it. And then Leisha says, I hate the sofa and the beds and everything. I'm just going to take it, throw it out, and then I'm just going to go to the furniture store and get a beautiful sofa. And the person who overhears happens to be the hotel manager or the resort owner. He'll be like, guys, wait a minute. I own this place. You can't do all these things without me. It's a joke. The point is they go there for a vacation. It's a place where it's a temporary place that they go and enjoy. It's not their permanent home. So in this way, the material world is not our permanent home. So we do the best we can, but to have I will work really hard to get that car that is unaffordable, but I have to pay like a huge amount of monthly payments, or that house that is really, really beyond my budget, but I still push it to get. So one should be a little careful in kind of thinking that I'll be happy here. So Krishna is saying that path actually leads to anxiety. So live within your means and do the best you can, have a healthy life, and eat well, exercise, and not too much investment into this world to the point that it causes you anxiety. Is that helpful?
Yes, that clarified a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. More questions?
There is one question from Akanksha. She's asking a follow-up. Does that mean that an atheist would have a better journey in the path of spirituality because they are coming with a blank slate and have basically zero information about spiritualism?
So the question itself is little. When you use atheist and spirituality in the same sentence, I would like to know how do you define that or how do you connect those two? Because a spiritual person by nature is more tuned towards a higher power or a higher aspiration, whereas atheist is saying that there is no God and I just unhappy in this world. So if you can just elaborate a little bit more.
So for me, like atheist is someone who doesn't believe in God at all or any of their principles. That's
But-
what my understanding of an atheist is, doesn't believe in a guru or anything.
Right. So I think the interesting question is how do you define a spiritual person and an atheist at the same time?
But both are different, right? Like both are two very different things. Someone who doesn't believe in the existence of God, while the other one, a spiritual person, does believe in existence of a higher power.
Right. So the leaving aside the semantics, the idea here is that irrespective you're a spiritual or you're an atheist, everybody is welcome to participate in Bhakti Yoga and try it out for yourself. If you believe that there is no God, then you have confirmed there is no God, which means that if Akanksha lost her purse somewhere in the room or in her home, and then her husband or family member checks for the purse, they actually have checked the whole house properly and thoroughly before they come and tell Akanksha, oh, no, there is no purse here. Which means for the atheist, when you say that there is no God, it's a belief rather than actually you trying to go search every place to see whether the God exists or not. So that is more of a faith-based thing. So we would welcome all the atheists to kind of check the path of Bhakti Yoga and they can decide for themselves to see if there is God or not God. How about that, Akanksha?
Yeah, thank you. I'm not an atheist, but I kind of wanted to know.
Yeah. Bilkul, you should try. I mean, like faith is something that you can never inculcate in anybody. Everybody has to find their faith. We can just provide information and provide the environment to kind of test your faith and whether it appeals to you or it doesn't appeal to you. It's that is more of an individual journey at this kind of thing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Kay, go ahead.
Yes, someone was talking about, how much spirituality and versus, being in the real world. And I would say for myself, I used to teach high school, and I knew what I needed to do to prepare to go into that high school. At first, it was, 10 minutes of, reading some, spiritual books and then meditation. And then eventually it ended up being half an hour of meditation just to maintain. But it seemed like I had to do more and more as my spirituality grew. And maybe I'm just relating this more to meditation, and I'm not sure if this fits in with our conversation, but I knew what I had to do because I had come to a certain level of peacefulness in my life. And if I'd missed a day, I my day didn't go as well. So it's almost like I have to adjust based on, what I'm going through. And but I mean, for now, I maintain with at least a half an hour of meditation and then reading the spiritual books. I don't know, does make it any sense, but it just seems like I knew what I had to do to prepare, and like you said, like your Teflon coating, it helps me walk out into the world if I prepare in the morning, when things won't stick to me because I have gotten my practice in. So anyway, I'm not sure if that fits in.
Thank you
Those
for
are my
sharing.
thoughts.
Thank you for sharing everything. That was really helpful.
Sorry, can I say, someone asked about how could we believe more? I think Pia was the one.
Yeah.
And I
Thank
think
you.
these are very relevant to that things because the spirituality is the way of living and I think it's a way of living. Both are a way of living. But how we can live the way we feel more less bump in our life. That's why we're all trying to doing it. Yeah, that's
Thank you, Bhakti.
that's fine.
One of the things is that faith is something that comes about with gradual application to a process. I'll give a simple example, not from a perspective of spirituality, but spirits or alcohol. I mean, a person who doesn't drink actually doesn't have faith in what alcohol does, but that person goes and hangs out with people who seriously drink alcohol, and he kind of gets, initially it is not that great, but by and by then you get really used to that kind of situation. So in the same, because there was no faith, you just tried out with people who had that taste and who had the affinity and maybe who had that discipline to probably drink every day, I assume. So in the same vein, I cannot, or even I myself cannot say, okay, let me pump in 7 gallons of faith into myself today or 8 gallons of faith. How do you measure faith? And how do you know that faith you are increasing or filling yourself with faith? The whole idea would be that it is better to align with a particular group or a process or a set of literature, if you will, and you can try it out for yourself to see like if it makes sense or it doesn't make sense. And you can see how a genuinely bona fide religion, whether be it any religion of this world that aims higher towards God, actually is kind of fulfilling. And then that way you can increase your faith. Nobody can force faith. I mean, people can put a gun to your head and force you to do something that you are doing it just to save your life, but not necessarily a change of heart. The change of heart is what signifies faith. So it would be good to associate, it would be good to be an open mind of what, for example, Bhakti Yoga, which is what ISKCON advocates. What is that all about? What is Bhakti Yoga and what does it entail of? And maybe you can try out talking to Vaish, for example, who's been practicing for more than 50 plus years. Like, what do you like about this and why do you stick for so long and how is it different? So you can see how by having certain association, then you can, at least the faith can increase. But the desire should be from within, that I want to try out at least with an open mind. Is that helpful?
There are two things. I think one was Akanksha asked a question, and then I believe Priya also raised her hand. But Akanksha's question was, today's topic is so interesting. Apologies for asking too many questions. I just have one last question, I promise. With all the cognitive overload and confirmation bias, how can we make sure the information we consume leads to wisdom and not confusion?
Akanksha, please never in this forum, never ever apologize for asking questions. In fact, we would love for you to ask questions. We are here to answer the questions. We are here to share whatever little we know. So please, I'm glad that you asked. So confirmation bias. So bias is a whole other topic for those who are unfamiliar. Bias can have so many biases. Confirmation bias, this bias, that bias. The idea would be that first is to have some self-awareness on what I'm biased towards. Am I, for example, a simple question I can ask is, am I impatient, uncomfortable with decision making? It's a simple question to ask because decision making usually is a vexing process. is an uncomfortable process, is a process that let others decide rather than me deciding. If you are that kind of person, if you are like, no, I'm just a very strong person, this is a leadership kind of person, then the question I should ask is what biases are kind of derailing my decision. So there is definitely a consideration that has to be there for decision making, which comes with self-awareness. That's one thing, point number one. Point number two is ultimately every aspect of material world, the decision cannot be perfect and complete because the world is constantly changing. I mean, we now for last 20 years, I was a proud software developer who had such tremendous experience. I'm not, I'm just give an example. I have such tremendous skill and just problem solving was like amazing. And then I could just write code in my sleep and everything. Now AI has come and it has just shattered all the foundations to kind of all the confidence has been shattered because AI is able to do it in few seconds, outputting millions of lines of code, and I'm left with nothing. So the idea is that as much as spiritual knowledge doesn't change. Krishna says, I spoke this knowledge to some god billions and billions of years ago. And he says, I'm repeating that same knowledge, which means that that knowledge hasn't changed for billions of years because spirit soul doesn't change. So you can see how having an anchor in spirituality and you can do the best in material world. So that way it can help us withstand these changes, constant changes that are happening in this world. Did I answer the question, Akanksha, a little bit?
Yes, it does. Thank you. To some extent, yeah. I mean, I need to contemplate on this, but yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. So to sum up in 30 seconds of what we discussed today, we just started off with like, what is knowledge? How is knowledge? What is information load? How to have a distinguishing between spiritual and material science, and how to root ourselves or stabilize ourselves in spirituality while doing the best with the material world. So, Jen, back to you.
Thank you so much, Shivas, Pandit, for another very enriching, very thought-provoking, and very engaging class, actually. And it was very fulfilling. And thanks everyone, actually, for coming forward. And as Shivas said, no question. I mean, we actually, I'm not sure, Shivas, if you're open, but as Vaishya says, we give $100 for bad questions, actually. So, so we encourage questions, and if you really get lucky, you will get $100 in case you end up asking a bad question. So, but yeah, thank you. Sorry, you were saying something, Shivash?
Add inflation, will make it 125.
Okay, fine, perfect, great. He's current, he's up to date. Yeah, so thanks to everyone for participating. It was amazing, and really looking forward to another session. Thanks, Shivas, for coming back. And if you're okay, we can sign off with a big Haribol.
Haribol.
Haribol!
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 Hare Krishna. Thank you.